everybody, it's Ros from North Mayo Fine Art. In today's video I want to show you how I start each of my drawings. The first thing that I normally do is decide on the actual subject matter that I want to draw, and in this case it's a tractor. I will be entering this piece into an agricultural show next year, so I thought the tractor was absolutely perfect for it. I tend to find a lot of my reference photos from copyright-free reference photo sites online. There are so many of them around with amazing photos that if I can't actually take the reference photo myself, I will use reference photos from these sites. And I got this photo from a site called Pixabay, which I use an awful lot. What I do once I've decided on the actual subject that I want to draw is I decide what size I want to draw it. And because this piece is going to go into a show, I want it to be a statement piece, so I'm actually doing it quite large. I always print out the image at the size that I actually want it to be. And I'll tell you the reason why. But how I print it out is I actually enlarge it using software on my computer. I enlarge the image and print it out onto however many sheets it ends up being. And then, as you can see, I actually join all the different pieces together to give me one solid drawing photo. I use this as reference whilst I'm drawing some of the time, but I actually rely more so on the original photo that's on my laptop. And I always have my laptop by my side, and it enables me to be able to zoom in and out of the original photo, which is a high definition photo, and capture every single tiny detail. And the colours are also much more vibrant on the computer as well. So I rely on that for actually giving me the correct colours and the depth of definition that I want. So once I've actually printed it out and stuck it all together, I always stick it to my drawing board. This is the next step. And then I trace just the basic outline. So I will literally just go around the edge just to get the very basic outline of the shape that I will then be drawing. I used to freehand everything, and I still do freehand a lot of my work, but because I have such awful pain in my hands, I now can't freehand every detail. If I was to try and freehand this drawing, for example, from scratch, I'm perfectly capable of doing it, but it would take days because the pain in my hand would be so severe that I'd have to keep stopping and starting, and I'd end up getting very frustrated, and that would again make the pain worse. So what I do now is, just to save me some time and to speed up the process slightly, I trace the basic outline and I put that down onto the drawing paper that I'm going to use, which in this case will be Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press 300 GSM watercolour paper. Once I've actually traced the basic outline onto the paper, I will then freehand all the rest of the details. But the initial outline is just to get the proportions right and to actually speed up the process so that I know that the proportions of the tractor and the machinery in the background will be in proportion to each other, and then I can add all the details on. So what I do is I get my tracing paper and I actually stick it on the photo itself, like that. I'm using low tack tape for this because I don't want it to actually damage either the tracing paper or the photo itself. So once it's all stuck down, I will start, usually at this side, obviously with me being left-handed, and I will do just a very, very basic outline. And I'll start up here, and I will just come along and just draw around the very, very edge of the trees. Now I always use my right hand to press the tracing paper down onto the design so I can see it much more clearly. I do sometimes, if it's a very dark photo that I'm actually trying to get the outline of, I will sometimes stick it to my window and use my window as a light box. But for this drawing, I don't need to do that. I will show you that in a future video if anybody is interested in seeing it. Now, as you can see, I am not by any means capturing any of the detail. I am literally going around the edge. And once this is down on my drawing paper, I will then start to draw in the details using the photo that I'm actually tracing around now for the details. So I will get on with doing this and I will come back to you once I'm further along in the process. Be back soon. Now, as you can see, I've got just some basic details and I don't need much more than this to get it down on the paper to then be able to freehand all the detail. I'm just going to finish off just very quickly going, I mean, as you can see, there's no detail at all in this line work here. I'm just capturing the basic areas that the clouds are, and just a little bits of bushes back here like that. And I would say that I've got all the detail that I need now to get it down. So the next step is to peel off the tracing paper like so. And then what I tend to do is I take the actual photo off and I turn that onto the blank back. Please excuse the rips. I just very quickly made it. And then I turn the tracing paper over and I literally just go over the lines that I've just made. Now what you can do, because I'm using low tack tape, is take the tape off the front of the tracing paper like this. Like that. And simply just stick this down onto the back of the design so it doesn't keep moving. It doesn't make the slightest bit of difference whether it moves or not, because this isn't going onto the actual paper that you're drawing. It just makes it a little bit easier. And then you can move the large sheet around, but this doesn't keep moving. So I shall get on with doing this and I will come back to you when I've finished. So now what I've actually done is I have finished doing the tracing on the front, and I've also gone over the whole of the back of it as well. And I have now stuck it, using low tack tape again, to my Fabriano Artistico paper, which is just under there. Now, I always tape down my drawing paper, no matter whether I'm using coloured pencils or Inktense. I always tape down my paper. It just makes sure that it's very secure, can't go anywhere. It's personally what I choose to do. So I've stuck the paper onto my drawing board and I've now stuck the actual design, the trace design down onto my paper. And now what I'm going to do again is just go over the outline with my pencil to get it down onto the paper. Now, one piece of advice that I have for you is when you're actually tracing it onto the drawing paper that you're going to use, I would recommend that you use a fairly light hand. If you push down too hard, although you will get a very good line on the paper, it will also indent the paper with the lead. And you'll end up with little dints in the paper that when you're actually trying to colour over it, it won't add the colour. It'll just lay over it and you'll end up with these very definite lines that you don't want. So what I'd recommend is you're going over with a light hand. Now, I always start, with me being left-handed, I always start in the upper right-hand corner and work this way. The problem is that no matter which way you do it and how you do it, because there's already lead on the front side of your tracing paper, when you go over it, you are going to get lead down the outside edge of your hand. Now, I've tried to avoid that by getting the tape as close to the edge of the tracing paper as possible. Although I am likely to still get a small bit there, it's actually easy to rub off. But it's just something that you need to think about when you're tracing your design on. So I'm going to start up at this top corner and I'm going to go over the design that I've already done. I'm not pushing down very hard. I'm just pushing down hard enough that it should transfer. Now, what you can do is once you've done the first small section, like so, because it's actually taped down, and I would always recommend taping your tracing down before actually going over it the final time, because if you don't and you happen to move it and you lose your plates, it's very, very difficult to get back to where you were. But because I have it taped down on all four corners, what you can do is once you've done a small bit, you can just lift off the corner and you can see. Now you can see there that it has come down onto the paper. I'm not sure if you can actually see that. Hopefully you can. Let's try and zoom in a small bit. I'm not sure. Anyway, there is quite a faint line there, but I can see that it isn't indenting the paper, which is good. So what I will do is I will now carry on going along the line I've already got, and I will continue to do that for the rest of this piece, and I will come back to you once I've completed that bit. Right, so I have now gone over all the line work and it's time for the big reveal. There we go. Not sure how well you can see that. Let's see, can you see it? Yeah. So, now I have finished that bit. What I do then is I actually use a combination of the photo that's on the laptop and this reference photo, the one I enlarged, to add all the detail. So, what I would also suggest is a very good idea is when you're now drawing the line work in much more detail and adding all the detail to it, have something over the rest of the piece, because the line work is very faint with it only having been traced up to now. It's very, very easy to actually smudge it and rub the lines away with your hand. So what I would suggest is putting over either some wax paper or normal print paper just to cover up the bit that you're not actually working on, and then you're not going to smudge it and ruin the design. So I am now going to get on with starting to add all the detail and to strengthen my lines up a little bit, and I will come back once it's all finished and you can see what I'm doing. Hi again. As you can see, I am now adding the detail to my line work, and you can see very clearly the difference between the line work that I did with the tracing and the detail that I've now free-drawn onto the piece itself. So I'm just going to continue following the lines that I've actually put on. Now, I won't be finishing this evening because there's still an awful lot to do, and I've had to take several breaks due to my hands. So I won't unfortunately be able to finish this tonight, but I will put a progress photo up online. So I just wanted to show you what I've actually managed to achieve. This has taken a lot of the afternoon, but as you can see, there's an awful lot of detail involved, and I've still got the rest of this whole area here still to do. So this is the process that I go through with every drawing that I do. Once I've finished all this, I will then use the reference photo to decide on the colours that I'm going to use, and I will sort all those out and then I will start laying the colour down. If you're interested in seeing any of my work, you can search for me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest and Twitter, searching for North Mayo Fine Art. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope you're going to subscribe to see future videos and give me a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching.